Hello and welcome back. I am going to talk to you today about my cook system and my water storage system that I used on my Pacific Crest Trail thru hike. Before I started my thru hike at the PCT, I decided not to do a pre-hike video. I had seen many hikers do videos on what they were going to take with them on the PCT, and then at the very end of their hike, they did not have the same gear that they started with. That was my situation. I started with gear that I didn't finish with, and so I thought it was foolish to do a gear video on what I was going to start the PCT with. And so I waited to the very end in order to find out what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And I'm doing several videos right now of the gear that I started with and the gear that I finished with and why I swapped it out. I also saw a lot of videos of hikers that said they were going to bring certain gear, and then when they started on the PCT, they didn't even bring the gear that they said they were going to start with. Now, the gear that I chose was based on thru hiking and not backpacking. Now, there is a difference. There's a big difference, and if you're not sure what it is, I'll probably do a video on that. But there's a big difference between backpacking or camping and thru hiking. Stink, that's hot. In my cook system, I'm going to include my water filtration and also my water storage system as well. So let's get started. The cook system that I started with at the southern terminus at Campo, California was a pot and lid. It was a Toaks 750 milliliter titanium pot. 750 milliliters is a little bit over 3 cups. The stove that I started with was a BRS stove, one of the lightest stoves on the market, and is very efficient. For fuel, I carried an 8-ounce Isobutane propane mixture canister. And for ignition, I carried a Bic Mini lighter. For my spoon, I carried a long-handled Toaks titanium spoon. I used that system throughout the desert section, most of the desert section, until I got to Tehachapi. And from the section from Tehachapi to Walker Pass, there was a infiltration, there was an invasion of mosquitoes and flies, and I don't know, it was almost like the apocalypse was coming, but there were so many bugs and those gnats that that come and dive bomb into your eyeballs. And consequently, I could not cook my food outside of my tent. I didn't want to cook inside of my tent. I saw a lot of problems with that. And so what I did is I put some water in my titanium cup, and I put some ramen noodles inside of it, and I cold soaked those ramen noodles, and when they got pliable and when they got ready to eat, I just took my long-handled spoon and started eating. Now, I did that for about a week because for 5 days, I could not literally go outside without getting eaten up by mosquitoes and be attacked by other flying creatures. And so when I got into Ridgecrest and got to a motel room, I started doing some investigating about cold soaking. So in Ridgecrest, I ditched my stove and my cook pot and my lighter and the different cook system that I'd brought. I ditched that and got a empty Jif peanut butter jar and put different things in that jar and use that jar to cold soak my food for the rest of my journey, all the way till I got to, when I got to Etna. Cold soaking is not for everybody. I realize that. But, you know, I usually say I'll eat anything that doesn't eat me first. And so it doesn't bother me to eat room temperature food. It's really basically not only a weight saving thing with me to cold soak, but it's also a convenient and a minimalistic type of approach to food. About an hour before I got to camp, I would just put water inside of a peanut butter jar and put my ramen, couscous, nor rice sides that I could cold soak, put it in the back of my backpack, and I would hike for about an hour until I got to camp. And then when I got to camp, it was all rehydrated and it was ready to eat. Now, when I got to camp and other hikers were fooling with their stove and their cook pot, boiling water, and then pouring that water into their cook pot with their food and waiting for it to rehydrate, and then waiting for it to cool down in order to eat the food that they just warmed up. I was busy eating my food. In fact, I was finished eating by the time they even started eating. And so again, cold soaking is not for everyone. I realize that. Please don't blow my comments up with how you think, oh, gross, how in the world could you eat food like that? Again, it didn't bother me. I enjoyed it. Then when I got to Etna, I met a guy by the name of Terminator. His trail name was Terminator. He had done the AT, had done the CDT, and now he was doing the PCT for his Triple Crown. Very experienced hiker. And he talked to me and introduced me to no cook system. He only ate food that did not have to be rehydrated. Different food like pepperoni, cheese, pita bread, tortillas, potato chips, things like that. Anything that did not have to be rehydrated, that's what he packed in his bag, and that's what he used to eat out on the trail. And so I thought that was very interesting. So from Etna on, I started doing the no cook system and even ditched my peanut butter jar. Now my water capacity and requirement and consumption went down considerably because of ditching the rehydration method and the cold soaking method, and just went with food that you could readily eat. Another thing that I carried with me in the desert section, in fact I got rid of it shortly after that, was a Sea to Summit X Mug cup. It didn't take up a lot of room. It could fold down flat, and so it served me well for coffee in the morning. My food bag that I carried with me to carry my food was the Granite Gear 16-liter bag. I liked it because you could zip it open and look inside of it, and your food was right there so that you could pick it out very easily. I also used a Loksak Opsak. The last term, Opsak, means that it's odor-proof. The reason why I used that is because I did not hang my food except for one time on the trail. I put all of my food into the Loksak Opsak. That's a tongue twister. And I put it inside of the Granite Gear food bag, and then at night I'd put the food bag and everything inside of a trash liner bag that was inside of my my backpack, and then I would just keep my backpack inside of my tent. I had zero problems whatsoever. No mice, no rats, no squirrels, nothing. No problem, no bears, no little bears. And so that system worked for me very well. Now, when I got to Ridgecrest, I decided to go ahead and carry my BV, my Bear Vault 450 Bear canister, because it's required, if you go through the Sierras, it's required for your food protection. And so I had to carry that. Then when I got to South Lake Tahoe, I went back to the Granite Gear bag and the Loksak Opsak system that I used. Now, there was one section on the Pacific Crest Trail that I'd read in Gut Hooks where they had some bear problems. And so the only time that I hung my food into a tree was in that section. And so I carried a bear line, which consisted of 50 feet of line, a rock bag, and a carabiner to attach my bag to. Now, for my water filter, I used the Cnoc Vecto bag, dirty water bag. It's a 2-liter bag. Has a wide opening so that you could scoop water. And also, I used a Sawyer Squeeze filter, and it screws right onto the bag, and that's what I used to filter my water up until I got to South Lake Tahoe. When I got to South Lake Tahoe, I traded that out for a Katadyn Be-Free 1-liter bag with the filter combined. And for my water storage system, in the desert section, I carried 2 1-liter Smart Water bottles, and also combined that with the 2-liter Cnoc Vecto dirty water bag that I was carrying, gave me a capacity of 4 liters throughout the desert. Then when I got to Kennedy Meadows and the Sierras, there was so much water that I got rid of one of my 1-liter bottles and only carried 1 liter, which gave me basically a 2-liter capacity to go through the Sierras and the rest of my PCT hike to the northern terminus. And so that's my cook system, my water filtration system. And if you have any questions whatsoever concerning the gear that I have covered so far, please be sure and leave a comment in the comment section below. And also, let me remind you again, if you would like to have a list of all the gear that I brought with me and the weight of each piece of gear, then go to the description section, down in the description section, and download and print out all the gear lists that I brought on the different sections of the PCT. And so, until next time, I will see you down the trail.